Hey, howdy, hey, welcome back to my channel. I am bringing back these infamous sunglasses. And for today's video, we will be reviewing RuPaul's Drag Race All-Stars 6, Episode 5. So if that sounds good to you, make sure to hit that like button. Comment down below what you thought about this episode. And go ahead and do me a favor and hit that subscribe button if you haven't already. Come join the Sandwicher Hour community. And without further ado, let's get right on into this episode. Alright. So, obviously, like I said, for today's video, we will be reviewing episode 5. I'm going to be doing pictures over here. So let's get right on into it. Obviously, the episode starts out with the queens walking back into the workroom after the elimination of Yara Sophia. And they begin to go through the lipsticks in the box. James begins to pull out all the lipsticks. And Jan quickly realizes that basically everyone in the group voted unanimously for Yara. Yes. So everyone in the all the rest of the queens voted for Yara, except for Yara, of course, who voted for Eureka. But Jan, who won the challenge and would have eliminated the queen had she won the lip sync, actually pulled Eureka's lipstick. So Jan started to feel very much so uncomfortable and very much like, oh shit, I screwed up. I thought everyone was gonna vote for Eureka, and then it ended up being quite the opposite. So Jan was put into a very interesting predicament this episode, let's put it that way. It definitely was an interesting moment because at one point she was like, are we going on integrity? Are we going on track record? And then everyone was like, just, if you're gonna make a vote, stick with it. Because she began to kind of backpedal in a way, which makes it feel a little bit less genuine. And kind of puts Jan's entire perspective on this competition into question. And it really makes all the other queens question Jan a whole lot more, obviously. Which, of course, is making Jan even more act this way even more. So that was an interesting moment. Eureka was feeling kind of like, oh, well, I know what's going on here now. I know this is my second time in the bottom. I need to really step it up. I need to really, like, push through. Which is a completely valid feeling, and I completely understand that. And I can just imagine how she was feeling had Jan won. Obviously, she would have been eliminated. That would have been really awkward. Anyways, so the queens begin to get out of drag, do all the things they usually do. And yeah, that's it for that day. And then obviously the queens walk back into the workroom for the next day where they're all talking about fashion, who's the most fashion-y. And then Eureka continues on to say that she believes Trinity is trade. And then, of course, Akira's like, no, she's not trade. No one here is trade. Which I'm like, thank you, Akira, because, like, I feel like, again, I'm not an expert on definitions with trade and everything like that, but I do feel like the definition on Drag Race of trade is different than the definition, the original definition of trade. But that's an entire different subject for an entire different video. Anyways, so they're all talking about who's the most fashionable. And they're saying Trinity is probably very fashionable. And she does look really great. I love her outfit right now. That's very, very nice. Very good aesthetics. I really enjoyed Trinity this season. Anyways, then RuPaul comes out and introduces the Maxi Challenge, where the queens are going to have to get into groups of 3 and do pink table talks, where they will get into different groups and have different topics to discuss. There are 3 different topics, including sex, body, and motherhood. These are all really interesting topics, especially to have discussions on a predominantly queer show, obviously. So it was a really interesting challenge, and I really enjoyed the challenge. I think the queens did really well with it. But first we're going to talk about the groups that they picked. Obviously, first we get Trinity, Eureka, and Eureka. Then we get Kylie, Scarlett, and Raja. And then the third and final group is going to be Ginger, Jan, and Pandora. So those are the three groups, and then they all have to pick different topics to discuss. Akira, Trinity, and Eureka pick sex, and that goes unanimously. They're fine, they're good. And then Scarlett wants their group to have motherhood, and so does Ginger. So they decide to do a rock, paper, scissors. And then, of course, in the end, Scarlett's group gets motherhood, and Ginger's group gets body. So those are the topics they're going to be discussing. They immediately get into their groups and start discussing how they're going to do things, assigning roles, doing all the things. First, they're going to decide who the moderators are. And for the body group, of course, that's going to be Ginger. Ginger is the moderator, and then Jan and Pandora will be discussing their stories, and of course, Ginger will be putting her story in there as well. And then for the sex group, of course, the moderator is going to be Eureka, and then, of course, Akira is talking about her experiences, and then Trinity is talking about her status, and being very open about that, which is really a really nice thing to see. And then the third group, of course, the moderator is going to be Kylie, and then Scarlett is going to be talking about her two moms, and then Raja is talking about her relationship with her mom. So they're all getting ready, talking about what they're going to be talking about, doing all the things, and then we get to the actual pink tabletops. I'm going to go ahead and cover this now. I really enjoyed these groups, and I think they all did pretty well overall. First, we are going to be talking about the sex group, of course, with Akira, Eureka, and Trinity. First things first, Akira talks about her experience and how she was living her life as a trans woman, and then has transitioned and is currently living her life as a male out of drag. And I thought that was a really interesting conversation, because that's not something that I don't think we hear about a lot, and I thought that was just a really interesting thing to hear. And then, of course, we have Trinity talking about her status as being HIV positive, and how it's something that people kind of shy away from, and how it's important to be open about it, and just because you are positive doesn't mean you can spread. You have to spread it. You can be undetectable, basically, is what she was saying. Anyways, and then, of course, we had Eureka talking about how she's bigger, and how her experiences of being bigger, and with guys trying to have sex with her, and all the things, and that happened. Overall, with this group, I think they did a really good job, and I think they had very good chemistry. I do think Eureka did a very good job as a moderator, honestly. I actually really enjoyed Eureka in the challenge, and I think she was really, really good. And so, of course, for Akira and Trinity, they both honestly, I loved how they were all very open and very honest in this discussion. I thought it was very powerful and a really good conversation to have on television. Now we are going to be talking about the Motherhood group with Kylie, Scarlett, and, of course, Raja. In this group, Kylie, of course, was the moderator. I will say Kylie could have been a better moderator. She wasn't a bad moderator by any means, but I think she could have been stronger, especially with that big of a role. And then, of course, we have, I just blinked out there for a second. Of course, we have Scarlett talking about her two moms, which on the one hand is nice, and I like seeing parts of Scarlett where we got to see more of who Scarlett was, but also I feel like she kept trying to put on a mask over it, as the judges said, or a facade over herself, like she wasn't really willing to fully open up. And then, of course, you have Raja, who's being really vulnerable and really honest and really genuine with her conversations about her mother, growing up in the South, all of that, especially growing up black in the South. I thought that was a really, really nice thing to, hear about, and, it's nice to have these conversations on television. And then, of course, Kylie talking about her being a trans woman, and how her dog she sees her dog almost as her child, which I'm not going to get into that because that's not my place to talk about, obviously. But I thought it was really interesting. I will say overall, I feel like Kylie could have opened up a little bit more too. I don't know, maybe that's just me. I'd love to hear your thoughts down below. Now we are going to get to the body category, where we have, of course, Ginger, Pandora, and Jan. Ginger immediately starts it out as a very strong moderator, talks about her story, and how she used to be 50 pounds or 80 pounds, I think she said, at her same height, because she wasn't able to have bowel movements, let's put it that way, but then was able to have that fixed, and then started putting on her weight, and how it's more to it than just saying, oh, you're just fat, because obviously that's kind of problematic with the whole, anyways, that was a really interesting perspective from Ginger, and I really enjoyed getting to hear more of Ginger's story. Then, of course, we get into Jan, who, of course, is all like, oh, being a big personality on stage, and I'm like, I get it, but for the challenge, they're wanting you to be you, basically. I don't know, they want to see a much more genuine persona on this talk show, basically. So I do see where the judges were coming out with that for Jan, I will say, but we'll cover that later. And then, of course, we have Pandora, who's talking about how her age and how her body has changed over time, and where she stands with her body now. And I thought overall this group did really well. I think overall, in general, all three groups did a really great job. I don't think anyone was too major of a flop, if that's what I'm saying, but sure. And I think it was a fun challenge. Yeah. Now we're going to get to the elimination day, where the queens are walking back into the workroom, getting into their runways, doing all the things. Of course I want to throw in a picture of Ginger, because her in this face mask was just funny, and of course I'm going to throw in a picture of it because it was funny. Then there's this conversation that Scarlett and Kylie are having, where Scarlett is saying, oh, you weren't very strong, or whatever. I don't know. Or was that before? Anyways, that was interesting. Honestly, let's go on to the runway so we can move on with this video. Anyways, for the runway, obviously the category is Clash of the Patterns. And I'm going to go and give you some of my highlights for this challenge. Of course, I really liked Raja O'Hara's look. I think she looks stunning. I really love all these patterns. It's all very strong and powerful and really good. Now I'm going to talk about Eureka. I really liked Eureka's look. I really liked all the patterns clashing. I thought it was very good for this category. It matched very well. I really enjoyed it. When it comes to Akira's look, I liked the look. I will say I didn't necessarily get Clash of the Patterns. I don't know, maybe I was just thinking about very one-directional with Clash of the Patterns. I'd love to hear your thoughts down below. We can talk about Scarlett's look as well. Of course, with all the love letters from her grandparents, this was really sweet. It was a really sweet look to see. Yeah, and honestly, I'll cover more of these in my fashion review later this week. But that's what happened. Now we're going to get to the judging and the placements. Obviously, the top group of this week is going to be Trinity, Akira, and Eureka, so congratulations to the three of them for being the top group. But then the winner for this week, of course, is going to be Ginger Minj. So congratulations to Ginger Minj on winning this challenge. Let's go. Really good week for Ginger, and I think she did overall really well. So yeah, congrats to Ginger. Then we find out that Raja is going to be safe, and Pandora are safe. So the bottom three are going to be Kylie, Jan, and Scarlett. So they all go backstage, untuck, and talk about who they're going to vote for, do all the things. Yeah, I will say Scarlett and Jan were basically the bottom two in my opinion. Like, I don't think anyone would have actually voted for Kylie. I would have been shocked if anyone did. Anyways, I thought it was interesting because Jan was kind of like trying to deflect it onto Scarlett, and Scarlett was trying to kind of basically deflecting it onto Jan. And it was just a really interesting thing to see. I don't know necessarily how I would have voted. I probably would have voted for Jan if we're being honest. But that's just me. Anyways, Now let's go ahead and get to the main stage. Obviously, Ginger is getting ready for the lip sync assassin. The doors open and guess who it is? Bianca Del Rio! Winner of season 6, never lip synced. Ha ha ha. JK, she's not there to lip sync. She leaves, and then we get Mayhem Miller. So I was really excited to see Mayhem as a lip sync assassin. I think she is a very strong lip syncer. And yeah, way to go Mayhem, I guess. Then we, of course, get the lip sync song, which is Phone by Lizzo. I am a big Lizzo fan, so I really enjoyed this. The lip sync was fine. I will say it wasn't my favorite lip sync. I felt like it was kind of one note, if I'm being honest. I guess Ginger was definitely taking it in a comedic approach, which I guess is kind of what you do. I don't know. I wanted more from this lip sync, I guess is what I'm trying to say. It wasn't bad by any means, but I wanted more. Anyways, in the end, the winner, of course, is going to be Ginger Minj. So congratulations to Ginger for winning this lip sync. And, of course, that means Mayhem leaves, and Ginger reveals her lipstick, and she picked Scarlett Envy to go home. So, unfortunately, that does mean Scarlett Envy was eliminated this week. However, of course, we don't know what's going on with this game within a game. We will find out shortly, I'm sure. But, of course, that's where we are. That's where this episode left off. Next week is an overacting challenge, an American Horror Story type sketch. We'll have to see how that goes, obviously. But I'm excited for it. And yeah, that does bring the end of my video. Make sure you're following me on social media, on Twitter and Instagram and TikTok at SamRicherHour. Make sure you're following me here on YouTube at SamRicherHour. Hit that subscribe button. Like this video if you enjoyed it. Comment down below what you thought about this episode. Make sure to share this video all over social media. And hit that subscribe button if you haven't already. And come join the SamRicherHour community. I will be back here tomorrow for another video. Have a good rest of your day. And I'll see you guys later. Bye guys!